We are red. Red is on. Time 4:51.
Okay.
Today is Thursday, September 7th, year 2017. Time is 4:50. Let this meeting of the Tilton Board of Selectmen now come to order. Please let the record show all the selectmen are present. Should we stand and do the pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was wondering if we could just have a moment of silence, thinking about the people in Texas that are being devastated by the flooding, their families, the municipal workers that have nothing to go home to, as well as the impending disaster that is headed directly for the Florida coast. That they've already, as we speak now, people are evacuating all of the Keys in southern Florida, and this could be one of the worst disasters to hit our country, as well as the people in Puerto Rico. We have to be reminded of all the municipal workers, the police departments, the state and federal agencies, that despite their homes being lost, they are out there helping everybody and trying to get their feet back together. So if we could just, we have a few moments of silence to think about that.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
All right, since we don't have any minutes to deal with tonight, let's go right into the ordinance for freezers and refrigerators. Did everyone see Jesse's response?
I didn't get a chance to read it.
He felt that the suggestions from our last meeting, changing the one misdemeanor to violation and removing that language, so that, you know, if you, as John said, if you had a refrigerator in your basement and you shut it off for a little while, that would be all right. I'm looking for his, it was in Gail's response. Yes, leaves in any place. That was the language we took out. And then I added the language that the last sentence in the first paragraph, he wanted us to change that sentence, and I put it in verbatim that he suggested, which was a finding guilty of a violation of this section shall not in itself render one guilty of any of the crimes or violation. It's
You took out misdemeanor?
I took out misdemeanor, that one misdemeanor that was a mistake and put in violation. So now it's correct. Because I think we had we had violation in two other places and one misdemeanor got lifted.
Do we have a final copy of that?
It's in your folder. It's right there.
Oh, this was for last week.
No,
That's it.
You put it on the left-hand side?
No.
I just took this out from
The
the...
top says littering ordinance and the right
Okay.
date. Madam Chair, the violation, the paragraph of your violation is not in there.
Excuse me?
We haven't changed it from misdemeanor to violation. I don't see that in there.
Yeah, it says guilty of a violation, is guilty of a violation, and the prior one, it says is guilty of a misdemeanor. See, in the first paragraph, it's about 5 sentences down.
5 sentences down, thank you.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not savvy with the whole showing what used to be there and then correcting it thing. So after trying a couple of times, I just gave up. Does anybody have any other suggestions? Are you good?
I looked it over. Yep.
I'm good with it.
All right, then I'll make a motion that we accept this amendment to approve this amendment to be added to the littering ordinance, which is 900.
Question.
Can we have
I'll
a
second that.
Thank you. Discussion?
On the heading, removal of all doors, hinges, latches, and locks, that appears like you've got to remove them all, but when I read it, I have either the doors or. So I don't know if the title should be reworded to follow the format.
I agree. Why don't we just title it refrigerators and freezers? Is everybody all right with that?
Yes.
I am.
Thank you. I think that makes sense. So I'll amend my motion to accept that correction.
Amend my second.
All right? So we'll change that title.
Of course, now you have refrigerator, freezer, and then down further you've got what, dryer, washing machine, or other appliance.
Okay, so we'll put in et cetera.
I guess.
It doesn't say, it's not inclusive. I mean, if you look at most of the headings in the ordinance, they just give you, like, removal of all doors and locks. Oh, never mind, I'm reading something else. But if you look at it, the ordinance, the headings, there's more once you get into them and what the headings suggest. Anybody else? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Will you give that to Joyce and ask her to put that into that however she sees fit? Renumbering, etc. All right, Jesse's not here. So, while we're waiting for Jesse, I want to address an email that was sent on Friday, September 1st. I think, is everybody aware of what I'm talking about? Everybody got a copy of it?
I didn't. What?
All right. I'll read it into the record. All these issues should have been discussed with the Board of Selectmen. Turning a road into a no parking on one side should be the decision of the board and the chief, not one selectman. If there are trash and street issues, it should be brought to the attention of the board. Now we have very angry residents because there was no notification of any changes. That is not how we have done business in the past, and we should not start now. I felt blindsided last night when a resident came in to inform us of Academy Street. We had no knowledge. And then, well, 3 out of the 4 of us, no knowledge. I'm not sure what that means. The only notice we, the board, got on the speed bump was in the chief's report, except Catherine because she spearheaded it. We need to do our research, listen to all the residents, then make a decision, not just one selectman. I feel very strongly any sign should be taken out until the board has had the time to review and process the issue like we have all complaints. That's my 2 cents. Remember, one selectman is just a resident. 5 selectmen create a board of selectmen. The board is the one with the authority to make the decisions, Pat. I take such offense and such great objection to this email. I did not spearhead anything. I did not start anything that has to do with anything that took place with trash, et cetera, in the past couple of weeks. What was given to me in the past few weeks were issues that had to do with trash pickup, littering, and road problems. I, as the health officer, took on the trash issues, which I have pictures of if you wanted to see those. I sent the road issues to the police department. I talked to the captain and the chief. I did not spearhead any speed bump. I merely relayed a message received from Eric Pyra, who lives on Cedar Street, who is very concerned of the speeding and the fact that the selectmen have done nothing to control that speeding. Our chief of police, our police department, that's their job, is for highway safety. And if you look at our traffic regulations in the Town of Tilton Ordinance, Section 3, The police department shall control all traffic on the highways. That's not the job of the Board of Selectmen, and it shouldn't be. You know, we have great people working for us, doing these jobs, and all I did is delegate those things out to them. I didn't start anything, and I just want that in the record.
May I speak?
You may speak.
When we were here last Thursday, and there was a resident, a very angry resident, that said that there were no parking signs put up with no notice or anything, and she demanded an answer. There were 3 selectmen that were sitting here that had absolutely no idea what was going on. There was 1 selectman that did, however, know what was going on. And that selectman made a statement at the meeting that the chief was responsible for putting up the signs, and the chief was the one that put the signs up, and the chief made the decision to put the signs up. When I left here on Thursday, I called the chief, as I would if I had any other questions. I called him and I said, why would you put up a sign on a street with no research or no accident reports or no speeding reports or anything, any type of research and anything given to the Board of Selectmen? We have always done this in the past, and at least in my 9 years as a selectman, we have done this and worked very closely with the chief of police in doing it. And he said, what do you mean? I said, that's what I was told. You made the decision. You made the decision on West Street and you made the decision on Academy Street. No, I was asked by Catherine Dawson to do that. So, with that information, I proceeded, after there were 2 more angry residents that came into town hall, and there was an email written by our town administrator letting us know that there were 2 more angry residents wanting to know what's happening with the streets, because we gave no notice of no such authority whatsoever. So I called LGC and asked who, what, where, and why gives the authority for that to happen. And the chief does not have the authority to have that happen. For RSA 41:11 and RSA 47:17, Margaret Byrne from New Hampshire Municipal Association said very clearly it is the Board of Selectmen to designate whether or not there's signs, any kind of signs, no parking, one-way, speed, anything to do with the roads in the town. They work directly with the chief of police. The chief does not have the authority to go out and do that on any municipal road whatsoever. So having armed with that information, I think we're going about this the wrong way. And I simply sent that information to the Board of Selectmen to say, let's be careful in this. We should not be doing this randomly, just putting out signs, no parking, where we're getting people upset. And we shouldn't be doing this because we haven't done it in 9 years that I've been a selectman. We've never done it. We've had public hearings, we've asked for public input, we've asked for research, we've asked for the trailer to be put up, we've asked for a lot of different things. And your response was, wasn't this brought up last Thursday night? How could it be brought up last Thursday night? We didn't know about it.
That's when it came to
So
light.
there wasn't anything accusatory of you.
Catherine,
It was merely
because
trying
she
to say,
spearheaded
well,
it?
if you let me speak. It was not accusatory of you. I'm trying to tell you that not one Board of Selectmen has the authority to tell the chief of police, which I was told you did.
And
Now, who am I supposed to believe? The chief of the police or the chairman of the Board of Selectmen? Now I'm in a conundrum right here now.
I think that you've made a conundrum. As I said earlier, so I wasn't going to take this much time. When Tony came up to me the first time, he had a list of things. I have a problem on West Street. I can't get through the truck. And oh, by the way, there is trash left on West Street. And there is. There's a huge pile of trash on West Street. And
We can't just slap a no parking because there's trash on West Street.
may I finish talking now? Thank you. So, I took the littering issue. Let's help officer. I took the littering issue. When I went down there and looked, all the cars were parked on the upper side of the street. I came around the corner from Chestnut Street and met a truck head to head, and I thought, oh, this is nice. I called the chief. The chief wasn't in. I called the captain, and I said, here's the issue I'm dealing with. Told him what took place. He said there was a law in the books that you can't park your car and block a road. It can't be unsafe. There's something about close to an intersection, etc., etc. I said, all right, are you all set with that? Is there anything you need from the Board of Selectmen? Well, I don't know about signage. We might need something about signage. I said, okay, get back to me. Never did. Done with that one. Dealt with it as health officer. The next one that came in, there was 20 Stormy Road. Again, garbage issue. Health officer ticket, no problems. Spoke to the chief. Oh, I had a complaint on Academy. I actually had 2 complaints on Academy Street. I hadn't been on Academy Street. I talked to the captain, the chief, and he said to me, I'll get with the captain, we'll drive around the village area and check it out. I said, okay. Had a discussion, I have a problem on West Street because they're not responding to the health officer, and he's going to talk to Jesse, and we're going to deal with that. So once I had delegated that to the chief, didn't worry about it. That's his issue, not mine. Thursday, before the selectmen's meeting, I got a call from Joyce. Leland had put up signs. I said, oh, okay. People on West Street are very unhappy, and I said, okay, well, why don't you, refer that to the chief. They put up the signs. Leland came up and explained to me in more detail about what took place, and I said, well, I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but, we'll let the chief know, and he contacted the people on West Street. At that time, Leland said that they were upset because they were singled out. The sign said from here to corner. I thought, well, that's odd. So I called up the chief and said, so Leland was in, you put up signs. Why did you put up signs that say from here to corner? And he said, because that's what was available at the town garage. That's what we had. And when they get other signs in, they'll post those. I said, oh, okay, thanks. I just wanted to know that.
So we as a board need to make a decision, because we found out from New Hampshire Municipal Association, the chief doesn't have the authority to put the signs up. It has to go through the Board of Selectmen.
Can we get the RSAs to read ourselves? Because I know with local government, we can call them one day, get an opinion, call them next week and get an opposite opinion.
Well, to get back to this email, I really think that rather than, reacting without getting all the facts and, accusing any selectman of what you have in this email, it would probably be a better idea to, at a Board of Selectmen's meeting, let's bring it up and let's discuss it as a board rather than throwing stones. That's my issue.
If you think that those were stones...
Oh, I think they were boulders.
Well, that's your opinion. And you're going to have that opinion, and that's fine. And you're okay with that. I'm okay with you having that opinion. I disagree with you.
Oh, so you do think that I spearheaded this, and you think that I acted as...
It doesn't matter what I think. You already made your mind up. It doesn't matter what I think.
It's not about making a mind up. I know what took place.
You know everything. I know. Let's move on.
Well, I'd like
Now,
to-
the issue
I'd-
with the chief of police and signs.
No, I think it's more than that. Why, when it was a decision of signs being made up, that there was a selectman meeting in 2 days, why didn't it come up at a selectman meeting? Why aren't these, this list, it didn't come up, and all these problems didn't come up, they're all handled without the board's input?
Well, normally when I get, so I can only answer as health officer. When I get an issue as health officer, which is almost daily, as health officer, I go out and deal with it. That's the job I'm paid to do. I haven't in the past 6 or 7 years, how many have been doing it, called up the Board of Selectmen and said, I have to go to 20 Stormy Road and deal with an issue, or I have to go to High Street and deal with an issue. So I can only tell you that
Well, I think
I
that...
don't, I mean,
And I'm not referring to that, because that's a
Oh.
health issue. But when it comes up that people are posting signs, or different departments, and that there's something else going on, even though we know we're doing a traffic study in there to determine where signs should go and all that, why somebody didn't say, you can't put signs up without going to the selectmen.
I didn't,
That shouldn't have just happened, because I was broadside, I didn't know what to say to this woman, because as far as I knew, we're not doing any signs, any posting, or any changing of traffic plans until we get that traffic study done.
I have to tell you,
I
wasn't aware that there was a specific RSA that the chief of police could not put up traffic signs. I had no idea. All I did was sent it to the department. I felt it should be sent. I knew that it wasn't something for me to deal with. So you'd have to ask the chief. I mean, I have been reading the traffic ordinances because it's a jumbled mess. And I did find that one, as I read to you earlier, that the Board of Selectmen, through that ordinance, which is 200, in here it states, the police department shall control all traffic on the highway. So I would have thought that he had that authority. I don't know, as I said, once I sent it to him, it wasn't my issue.
This is for city councils. Are we a city council?
No,
So this statute would have no
there's
application.
towns at the top. Or that's the
Chapter
city.
47, powers of city councils is
Oh,
this
that's not
chapter.
us.
So if she's citing that, she's giving us an incorrect RSA.
But I mean, the fact is, if we have an issue with the chief just
You can have it
making the
given,
decision, not my decision, of putting up those signs, then we should talk to him about it.
My point exactly.
Excuse me, I'm right in the sun thing
But
here.
Meanwhile, we should have those signs taken down because they're improperly placed.
What if
And they're
it's,
the wrong signs.
what if it's a safety issue?
Where is the safety issue? Nobody's come to us and told us that there was a safety issue.
The chief of police, as far as I know, the
I-
chief of police and the captain drove around the town and determined that those two areas were safety issues. The one sign was placed on Academy Street where the tenants park, as you heard Thursday night, in front of the apartment building, or their apartment. And on the other side are the guardrails. Well, that's the guardrail area that our Public Works Director has told us, at least on 2 occasions I can remember, that are, let's just call them tenuous. So,
We've been trying to work on the village district area for 3 years now since the public hearing, and they haven't gotten any answers yet. And every time we bring it up, it's been put off, and now all of a sudden people are making decisions on their own to put the signs wherever they want to put them.
I don't believe these 2 streets were within that.
The Board of Selectmen did not know about these signs.
Well, I would, as I said before, I would take it up with the chief of police.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we remove those signs immediately until the traffic study has been completed.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
That-
I think
And
it's a
I-
safe-
since I made the motion, can I make the discussion that a safety study should be done to see if it's a crest of a hill and braking distance or something like that. A 25-mile-an-hour zone, the braking distance is, Pat, you just did your CDL, you should probably know it on
It depends
a
on the
larger truck.
vehicle, so...
But on a larger
Size of
truck,
the vehicle,
it's,
right.
I believe it's like 40 or 50 feet, so the line of sight should be that. If we're going to start putting no parking signs up all over town based on widths of street, then I live on Morrison Ave, we should have ones on that street, we should have ones on every single one of the streets, we should have no parking signs. I think nearly 80% of the streets in this town should be posted for no parking. So I think that since we have a traffic study going on with traffic cutting through that area, and this greatly affects the flow of traffic and people's ability to park, that we remove the signs until we come to an accurate decision, all information is provided.
Are you including
That's
the
it.
no parking signs for the snow plowing, which are up at this time?
All signs have just been recently put up
How about put up on last Thursday or last week?
in the last 30 days, or not been brought to the board for discussion.
Yeah, I have a comment. When the sewer commission decides to replace the sewer line on Academy Street, we're going to have to hire either the PD or traffic control because we are closing a lane of traffic. Meanwhile, a resident can park on Academy Street, close a lane of traffic, and no detailed flagger is required. I find it kind of interesting, that's all.
There is that way in many, many, many parts of the town, though. And that's why it's so hard to make that decision, because we, as many of us have sat here before, have said what's good for everyone, it needs to be good for everyone. It needs to be right for everyone. You're not going to satisfy everyone either. So that's why we haven't come to a resolve in 3 years, because you can't.
Well, we can because we've got the information from Steve Pernar on what you need, depending on which traffic pattern and sidewalks you wish to have. If you don't want any sidewalks, that gives us more room.
Tim,
I just wanted to say that I personally have, on Academy Street, had to go into the left travel lane to go around cars there when I'm going that direction. And because of where they're parked, you cannot see over the hill. And twice I've met a car coming the other way. Fortunately, neither time it's been somebody driving over the speed limit, but if they had, I would have been in the wrong for being in their lane. And I've complained to the PD several times about this, and it's horrible.
That's the data that we need.
personally, I'm not going to second guess the chief of police. If he felt it was such a safety issue that he needed to post and put up signs, I'm not going to vote to take him down until I hear from him otherwise. Anyone else?
Can we have every other street that it would be blocked by a car, would block a lane, also posted for that? Let's make everybody under the same circumstances here.
I suspect the chief of police had a good reason for posting those two signs, streets the way he did.
I suspect he did.
And as
he
I
told me he
said,
did.
I'm not going to second guess him. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails.
I'd like to make a motion to post all other streets that have similar circumstances in the town. Any street that's blocked, any lane would be blocked by a car parking on it. Let's make the whole town under the same rules if we're not going to do a study.
I don't hear a second.
I'll second it for discussion.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
I think it's unfortunate that we have to go to these lengths, but I think that we should get clarification, a written clarification from New Hampshire Municipal Association on who is supposed to be doing this, and if in fact it is the Board of Selectmen, like I was told by Attorney Margaret Byrne today, that we should instruct the chief to be here at next week's meeting and take a vote at that time and remove the signs, and then if need be, get the research and the data necessary. If it needs to go back up and we have more stories like Tim and it needs to go back up, then we can do it properly.
Gail, would you ask the chief to come in next week? I think he's going to anyway. Does anybody object to the chief coming in?
He's supposed to be here anyway.
All right, moving right along. 5:15, attorney, prosecutor, Jesse. And I do see we have a visitor this evening. Two of them.
Dinner?
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't bring dinner. I didn't get that.
It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. So I received information that the board had some questions about the prosecutorial services agreement, which was signed by the town of Samberton. Samberton signed it last week, and then I think that the board had some concerns because there was some change of language. The only change of language that I would note in this is the times that Samberton would pay the town of Tilton, because Samberton was concerned about the first portion of the agreement, which runs for 10 months, and how they would pay on a quarterly basis. But I'm open for any other questions.
I think one of the questions was that what would happen in the event that you were not available, let's say, and unfortunately that you're gone for a month, who would take your place, and what would be the arrangement with Samberton at that point? What liability to the town of Tilton?
As far as liability, I don't think that there would be any liability, but the same thing would have to happen that I currently do for Tilton, which is if I'm out for the town of Tilton now, then I have to write to the court and ask for continuances on the cases. If the court doesn't grant a continuance, however, I've never known them not to if it's for a good cause, and if I'm out because I'm sick or some type of unfortunate circumstance, then I would assume that the court would. But if they don't, then prosecutors in Franklin District Court give each other cases all the time. So for instance, tomorrow I'm covering for Franklin. So anytime that we're out, if there's cases that need to be covered, there are other prosecutors who we shift around our cases and ask for coverage. And that's what would happen with Sam.
That was a question I had. Let's say, God forbid, that something happened to you, or you won the lottery. Let's look at it that way. It's a better way. And you determined that you're going to live somewhere. And under this, we are supplying an attorney prosecutor to the town of Samberton. That would obligate us to provide an attorney prosecutor to the town of Samberton, which we could possibly have to hire an attorney to cover their cases during this. Wouldn't it be better to have some type of at-will, that it could be termination at will, or in the event of you're winning the lottery, or unable to provide the services?
So, in looking at the agreement that I wrote, I put he or she for a particular reason, and that's in case I were to leave for something like I won the lottery and decided to leave Tilton, then it would be my successor's responsibility to take over the contract. However, there is the ability of either town to terminate this agreement with 3 months' notice to the other town. So if the town of Tilton decided that they did not want this contract or this agreement to continue on after I decided to leave the town of Tilton for any reason, then Tilton could give Samberton notice and terminate the agreement, and then they would not be liable to, or not be bound by the agreement to cover any prosecution for the town of Samberton.
So it would just be a 3-month leeway.
Correct.
Yeah. That helps.
And I also I know that one of the follow-up questions to that 3-month, I think that there was some discussion about that termination clause, and specifically you and Selectman Dawson had some concerns about that and thought that the agreement should be looked at annually, which it does say in there that that the agreement is subject to renegotiation every year before it renews on July 1st of each consecutive
That's
year.
under the number 1 term to term.
Correct.
Okay, so that covers for those circumstances.
Correct. Well, I mean, it would cover at least if the town of Tilton or the town of Samberton wanted to change this agreement in any way, shape, or form that they could each year before the agreement is continued on for that next consecutive year, assuming that nobody terminates it with the 3-month notice that allows them the agreement.
Yeah, I'm looking for your guidance on this, because it just seemed like to me
says
that
that-
it would only do it if 3 months to the contract being renewed, as opposed to if, let's say, the contract was renewed and then the next month you won the lottery and we couldn't afford to find a replacement for you as an attorney prosecutor. and
I
we
guess
decide to go with
I-
the regular prosecutor.
So is your question when you have the ability to terminate the agreement? So again, you can terminate the agreement with 3 months written notice to the other town. So since Tilton already has an attorney prosecutor position, it would be my understanding, unless they do away with that, that they would hire on another attorney, because once the position was created to hire on an attorney to do the prosecution, it says that the next, anybody who takes over the position generally would be somebody who graduated from law school and is a barred attorney in the state of New Hampshire. So that person would then take on the responsibility with the understanding that if they take over Tilton, that they would also take over Samberton.
And if the town of Tilton did not wish to proceed with attorney prosecutor or couldn't because of trying to locate one, we wouldn't be under obligation still to supply Samberton with any type of legal services.
I think that they would, but again, if they decided to go with somebody who wasn't an attorney, whoever takes over the prosecution for the town of Tilton would also take over prosecution for Samberton. And if that person or the town decided that they didn't want to, I would assume that I would give the town a fair amount of notice that I would be leaving. So if, you know, let's say it's a month, then it would be 2 months that that person has to cover whether they're an attorney or not.
So it could be terminated with a 3-month notice.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody have any more questions? Clarifications, anything? Gail, do we have a copy of image to be signed?
Yes.
Jesse has it.
I have it already.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept, I'm sorry, the name of the document. The prosecutorial services agreement with Samberton.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Start the signatures. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you. As a follow-up to, I know that there was another question about what I was looking for as far as compensation and about cars. I think that that's separate from that agreement. It has nothing to do with that agreement, so I can address that too. I can wait, or I can talk about it now.
Go ahead.
So the last time that we were here, I had talked about compensation in the amount of $2,500. That would be, so one of the things that I took into consideration is that at this point I'm a certified police officer in the state of New Hampshire and with the town of Tilton, and so I am allowed to drive the police cruisers. It is not my intention to maintain my certification. I've made that pretty clear with the chief and with certain members of the Board of Selectmen. That at some point I would probably do away with my police certification. The reason for that is that, you know, with taking over the prosecution, I have enough work to do, and now with another town, I'm going to have those to do. I also do, on the side, some work for the town when there's certain contracts and things. So at this point, after going to law school and becoming an attorney in the state, I just don't necessarily see what benefit I provide with my police certification and why I would maintain that. I know that there could be like a hot call or something that I might be able to go on at the police department, but I think that we're fully staffed now and our shifts seem to be pretty well staffed at this point, so I don't know if I would necessarily need to do that. And the other benefit for me would be that I would be able to take details, but I just think that at this point other people can benefit more from the details and the rate of pay that they get when they're working in detail. So with that being said, I did take that into consideration and changed what I was looking for a little bit. And so the two options that I came up with, and last time I talked about a take-home car, I've decided that I don't think a take-home car would be beneficial. It adds too much to the wages. There's a lot that I would have to add as income because I live in Hopkinton, which is approximately 40 minutes away. So one of the ways to get around that is that if the town was so inclined to have a car for the prosecutor, then they could, but it would be one that would stay here, stay at the police department. It would not be one that I would use for what the government would consider personal use, which would be to and from work. So they could do that, and if the town decides to do that, then I would still be looking for $2,500, or I would be looking for $5,000 to be added to my salary, and the reason being is that I would have to use my own vehicle to conduct whatever business that I need to do at the court or get around to wherever I need to go, because when I'm not a police officer anymore, I will not be able to drive the cruiser, so I'm not going to walk to Franklin District Court.
Bicycle?
What's that?
Bicycle?
Yeah, yeah, one of the electric ones at the
There you
PD.
go. Snow tires.
Okay, so basically $2,500 with a car and $5,000 without a car. And we really, if we're gonna make it with a car, it needs to be not a cruiser.
Yes,
Not this vehicle.
yes.
Problem is, we need to talk to the chief about it, because I think that there is one available right now.
I think we only have the town car. Brock?
What are we trading in?
What's your older pickup?
What?
What's the older pickup?
GMC.
It's a GMC. Oh, wait, isn't it?
Let me ask my question to Brock, and then Brock, is my understanding, the only town car we have is the one in the parking lot?
That's correct.
The other one was dismantled, disemboweled.
It is completely dismantled now.
Okay. Tim?
Might I recommend that you take his request under advisement and discuss it with the chief and see what available vehicles and consider all the options.
Can you just say that?
I think that's what we're going to do, but I was just gathering information. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Jesse or anyone?
Just that when you were certified police officer to maintain that did have expenses for the town?
To maintain my certification?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those would no longer be borne by the town?
Yeah, I
or
think
compensated, so
I would
it covers
say that-
part of that 2,500?
Well, I would assume that the amount that it costs for me to maintain my police certification, which requires a certain amount of training every year, it would require me to come in and do firearms training every year, things like that. Those costs may be taken over by some of the other things that, other, I guess, benefits that I get. I don't know. I didn't run the numbers. So I don't know what the total would be for the training that I'm required to do.
But there is less cost of having one less person having to be certified.
Yes.
I'm just pointing that out more than a question.
And I know you just said you didn't run the numbers, but I need something more than that to say 2,500 equates to not having the certification. And I need to look into that as well. I don't know, I think it's beneficial to have the certification and go through the training, but certainly if you don't want to, or, I need more information. I need more information about, I just wrote down how much we're getting, but how much it's going to cost us, and I just need to look into it more.
Any other questions for Jesse? Anybody?
It's not really the mileage. I mean, the certification doesn't equate to the $2,500. That's not what you're saying.
No.
What you're saying is that you'd like the $2,500 in addition to having a car available to you.
Correct.
The certification is kind of a separate issue.
Completely
We
separate.
may or may not save in the budget as far as what's going to happen if you do not have a certification.
Correct.
That's the discussion that you had with the chief, and you've given good reason why you don't want to have a certification, or why it's not needed to have a certification. So that, I just want to make clear to the public that's watching this that that's two separate issues. It's not going to tie on the back of a vehicle and the $2,500.
Well, it kind of does, because if the only vehicle we have available is the town car and all the rest are cruisers, we don't have a car for you unless we purchase one. But this is
And I mean, I think it is a good point to point out the fact that the certification has nothing to do with the numbers that I came up with.
Nothing to do with
the numbers come up with the fact that
Right.
I'm the only one that gets more work. I get all of the cases from Samberton. We know why I gave $12,500 for Samberton to give to the town of Tilton based on salary and how many cases they give. or generate throughout the year. And in addition to that, it's just the difference in the prices. It takes me 7 miles round trip to go to court. If I go to court once a day, that's 7 miles. If I go to court twice a day, that's 14 miles, and there are some days that I do that. So that's all extra wear and tear on my own vehicle, which is the differentiation between not having a vehicle provided and having one provided.
So I guess that's why I need more information, because this is the first I'm hearing of it. And I don't know when that email was sent, like 2:30 today or something. I haven't had a chance to really review it. So I just need to get more information on it. If you want to email me or the rest of the board an estimate of what you think, because I'm just curious now about the certification, what you think that would cost. Are you able to do that?
I probably can talk to...
Even if it's separate from this card.
Yes, I can probably do that.
You also, we had a sheet from you that showed how many cases and whatnot, didn't we? Earlier
Sorry?
on.
You had a what?
Didn't you prepare a sheet for us that projected approximately how many cases from Samberton?
Yeah. Yeah, I gave you the caseload for the last 3 years, I think it
I
was.
thought so. Are there any more questions? All right. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Gail, would you apprise the chief of this information and have him prepared to talk about it next week? We'll get this hashed out as soon as possible.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
As far as I know that the agreement was signed, so now I think we'll probably have to adjust in there the amount that Samberton pays for the town, for the month of September, just because I would assume that at this point I'll take over their cases starting Monday
Okay.
for court, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tim, did you hear that?
I did.
Okay, good. Thank you. I thought you did. Even if you were downstairs, you probably would. All right.
I think.
It went that way. The prosecutor's agreement? Oh, Brock.
Yeah.
A little bit late. Dennis, we'll have you up next.
Watch out, I may be secreting.
Good evening. What can we do for you, sir?
As of last week, I had put in the requests and been looking at the mowers for the new excavator, and I did some research. I postponed last week because I didn't have enough research together for what I wanted to look at for a mower, and I did some research. I tried some mowers, and came to the conclusion that the $12,000 mower is definitely not something that the town needs. There's a couple other options, and the option that I tried and that seems to be the best fit is and I did send you guys an email about it earlier, is the Blue Diamond Severe Duty Brush Cutter, which is ultimately does pretty much the same thing as the other one, except for when you get down to like small stuff, you can lay it down like it looks like a lawn when you're done, instead of having it all strung out all over the place. And as far as roads, I know you had questions about what roads we'd use them on. I use them on Highland, Linden, High Street, there's brush back on. I mean, we mowed Highland by hand at the beginning of the year, and it's already grown back out into the road. So, I mean, this is going to be something, and then plus we've got all Dunlop, Autumn Drive, all that. And to pay somebody to do it, yeah, you're going to spend 2 to 3 weeks mowing it a year to keep up with it. And by the time we did that 2 years, we've already paid, so we might as well just buy the mower. It's $7,500 to have somebody come in and mow, and it's $8,500 to buy the mower. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to pay somebody to do the job that we can do ourselves and do it cheaper.
Does this mower take care of the Conservation Commission's concerns, so this will be the same.
It's all, yes, but everybody needs to understand, every town in this state mows the side of the road. Nobody stops a contractor on the side of the road and says, oh, there's knotweed, we're gonna get out, dig the knotweed up and do it. They mow it. That's how they keep it back. It doesn't matter what you do. And actually, just to ease everybody's mind, I've just enrolled myself in the school to get my pesticide applicator's commercial license. I'll start that on Tuesday. So I can go in and look at the invasive species and do the spraying ourselves, but everybody has to maintain the edges of the road. You have to mow it. It doesn't matter if I cut it down with a handsaw or I cut it down with a it's still gonna spread. It's inevitable, the spread of it.
I think that's like a different issue though, because even though it's trouble, it doesn't mean we should ignore it, so.
No,
it's
you're
very
absolutely
important.
right, you're right.
And the biggest issue was the flail mower actually uses like things and just shreds stuff.
Shreds it up. This is a
So this
rotary
is
mower.
like a rotary, it's got like two, the blade comes across,
It's got
the
three
other
blades
blades
on it.
actually
Yes, it has
swing a
three
little bit.
blades that swing underneath it.
Yeah.
Like a brush hog.
Yes, but
Yeah.
with a finer interpretation for the mowing of the smaller grass on it. It's not a,
And that was a big concern.
yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that if you mow some Japanese knotweed with it, that it's not gonna make it any worse than it was when you were there before.
Well, like I said, I feel it's a different
It's a
issue.
different issue,
And
right.
before you even mow, we have a fellow that
Right.
goes out there.
Paul, right.
And Paul, yeah, he's under, as an employee for the town, does part-time,
Yep.
that will go out there before you even get there
Yeah,
and take care of it, so next year you won't even have to do it.
that's not.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's not gonna
but
happen.
the-
You can spray it with whatever you want, it's coming back.
Well, he's eliminated it down at Salmon Run successfully. He's good, he knows,
He did, and he
he's-
did at the senior center pretty
He-
much.
Yeah,
Sometimes it comes
he,
back and you have to
this
fight
guy
it
is an
again.
expert on knotweed. He knows which times a year to apply it. So
Right.
working with him will hopefully make your
Yeah, no,
job
absolutely.
better.
Absolutely.
So if we can do that, but yeah, I think that's much better on the mower. And that
Right.
was the big concern of the Conservation Commission, because I think we all saw Winter Street. We've seen the side of the highway and what the trees look like.
And see, and I had spoke with them this earlier, I don't want what's going on up there to be a reflection on what we're gonna do. 'Cause
No.
that's absolutely not gonna happen. That's not how we do things. When we do something, we do it right, and not like that. No offense to it, whatever, but
Listen. Any more questions?
I do. Go ahead, Peter.
You said you were looking at the 42 inch?
yes.
That's only up to 3 inch with no chain curtain, where the 50 inch does up to 4 inch and has a chain curtain. I don't know.
The, I'm sorry, go ahead, Peter, sorry.
I don't know difference in price and all.
Severe duty right here, 6-inch cutting capacity.
You want the severe duty one?
Yeah, I want the severe duty.
So I'm on the wrong one then, not this one,
You're on the mini expert.
not the mini?
Yeah, see right here, severe duty mini excavator? That's just the regular.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the other one's bigger, it's 50 inches, but it's nowhere near as rugged, and I looked at them both, so
So this one?
that's the one. And it will cut the big tree, I mean, it'll cut a 6-inch tree if you need it to. So it's not that we're gonna be in the practice of cutting down 6-inch trees with a brush hog, but it will do it.
Peter, you also? Done?
Isn't this, where are we gonna get the money for this?
With any luck, we'll take it out of the block grant money. It's $8,000.
I can find, just out of the tip of my tongue here, a number of different priorities more severe than having a mower this year for the block grant money. Personally, for me,
Yep,
my
absolutely.
opinion.
Yep.
Why couldn't we put this on a warrant article for next year? Or why couldn't we put this in the budget for next year? I mean, it seems like, to me, that we've spent an awful lot of money in highway this year. And to have this added on, it's a big expense. And I don't dispute that we could use it, and I don't dispute you could put it to good use, but I do worry that we're spending way too much money this year in 2017 when we were already a very thin budget, And I can't see taking it personally out of the block grant money when we know that there are very severe priorities that would come above that, unless the other people disagree with me, which is fine, but
Understandable, but have we made a decision what we're gonna do with the block grant money? I left
We haven't
the
talked about
options
it.
on the table.
No,
It's $8,500 out of 50-something thousand dollars that we have. We can pay for it and be done with it.
look at all the things we've already got this year for the
I
highway
understand that,
department,
Pat, but you're
including
working,
personnel. I mean,
we're
just,
working with stuff that look at how much more stuff's getting done.
Part of, part of, I think, what Pat's thinking, we've all been thinking is prior to your being here.
Understandable, yeah,
We've been
understandable.
going
Yeah, absolutely.
5-8 years with no sidewalks being done, and this is our one chance to get a windfall on getting sidewalks
And I have
done.
every intention, if that's what you want to do, is to do the sidewalks, but this $8,500 is it's a small amount of money. It's not, there's still almost there'll be $45,000 left to work on the sidewalks.
then argue that in a warrant article and let the people vote on it in March. And then we can put it on the thing. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know
Okay,
how the
well,
others
then
feel about it.
Ashley, do you have anything?
Tim, what, was that your suggestion to find the funds? What did you suggest?
There are two options. One is out of the capital reserve fund, which would leave us with about $1,100 after we pay for the Ford 550 that it's on order, fully outfitted plow truck. And there have been times in the past when we've run that all the way down when we bought the Caterpillar, that was run down to less than 1,000. The other option would be the block grant, which was permissible from that SB 38 instruction that we received. But again, that's dependent upon priorities, so on and so forth. But either way, it could be paid for out of either of those, or a combination. Take half of it from the capital reserve fund if you want to leave a little higher balance there, and pay for half of it out of the block grant.
Which won't have an impact on the taxpayer.
Neither one would have an impact on next year's tax rate. That's correct.
I think, as you just said a little while ago, that the cost of this, we would save within 2 years, because the roads have to be trimmed back. It's a safety issue. We have an opportunity to take it out of monies that will not affect the tax rate of the taxpayer. And it's, whether we do it ourselves or pay to have it done, which is more expensive, it's necessary. It's not a wanty, it's not a wish list.
Right.
Trimming back the
It's a
highways
necessary
is
evil
a
for the job.
necessary thing to do.
Yes.
I don't want to see us lose the momentum and the good work you've done. I have had phone calls from people who are very delighted with the ditch work and whatnot, and how the roads are being maintained, some for the first time. I would be in favor of purchasing this year. Does anybody else have anything to say
When would you start the work, or ask if we got it?
As soon as the mower comes in, you have to order the mower. It's not, I'd have to order it. And then when it comes in, we'll start mowing. I mean, it's
not something that would be started next.
no, we're at the mercy of the manufacturer getting it here.
Do you have any idea of?
I think he said 6 to 8 weeks before it comes. But you guys need to understand too, that I have the best interest of the taxpayer, of the people of the town of Tilton when I'm doing this. It's not because, boy, I get to play with a new flail mower. Believe me, the last thing I want to do is sit in an excavator all day with a mower attached to the end of it. But if you keep letting it go, you're going to have some serious safety issues arise. And there's going to be stuff out in the road, and there's already stuff in the road. And we've already cut it. It's not just, boy, I wish I could have a new mower.
Any more discussion?
Yes, I do.
Well,
I'd like to dispel the myth that it's not an impact on the taxpayers. If we fix a sidewalk with the grant money, it means we won't have to fix that sidewalk with taxpayers' money down the road. Sooner or later, it will affect the taxpayers. And it doesn't come out of your pocket now, but it's one section of sidewalk that will not get done from block grant money. So it will affect the taxpayers, and the taxpayers will be paying for this. It's not free. Nothing's free. You have to make up for it. I'm for getting it. I think that we should hold off till next year, put it on the budget. We can amend the budget for, you know, the amount of rental equipment that we use, a partial part of that. And
Let me ask,
I can say, as a budget committee, I sat there for an hour and a half and got grilled
I
about the
listened to it,
purchases.
and
And I will
just-
get hammered again and by other people,
I'll
and
sit
then we're
here
on
next
town.
time, because it won't happen like that
Yeah.
next time. I can promise you that.
All right, any more discussion?
I would really like to hear from the chairman of the budget committee.
Absolutely.
See what her thoughts are.
Well, I think I speak for a lot of the budget committee. We just had one thing after another brought by the highway department this year. And I believe we have 11 town roads, is that correct? How many?
11 miles, I believe.
11 miles.
14 miles, something like that, yeah.
And I wonder how many of those 11 miles are impacted by what you're talking about. I'd like to see that. For instance, some of the town roads I don't think have that much growth on them. I just think we've not gotten a lot of detail. It's just that I want. And I think that's been the concern of the budget committee. So I'd like to see some hard facts about how many of the 11 miles you would use this on.
Yeah.
How many times is it
I'd say
going to
probably
be
8 of
used?
them.
Well, I don't, I'd say maybe 6 of them, okay? Somebody else would say maybe
But
4.
I'm the one
Somebody else
that
would
these
say
guys
3.
hired to do this
Well,
job.
I'd like to know what those roads are.
I'm
And
not gonna-
that's the kind of thing the budget committee, John, if the budget committee.
That's what they're gonna be.
You know, I,
We have somebody on the budget committee who used to work for the highway department.
I
He's
understand
going to
that,
have one.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
And, those are the kinds of issues.
I'd be
that
more than
we-
happy to answer any question that he has.
I'd like to, oh, sorry. No, I just want to say, I don't think it's an issue of whether we need it or, you want. I don't
It's
think you're getting
not.
personal gain. It's clearly a valid request. It's certainly a safety issue. I know Winter Street was just done, but I could barely pull out of my
That's a state
driveway.
road. That's
It is a
why-
state
Right.
road. It is
But
a
I'm just
state road.
saying, the benefit to that with safety of being able to pull out of my
Well,
driveway.
what roads though? That's what I'm asking.
okay, this is a selectmen's discussion, thank you, Jane.
Well, I did ask that question as well as a
And I- yeah,
selectman,
and her
and I didn't
opinion
get
is
an answer 2 weeks
Something that
ago,
I'd like to
so.
hear too.
He did answer.
And yours too.
Dennis?
I'm listening to it, and I'm just a little concerned. I mean, we're talking about the brand new excavator that's down there, right?
That's correct.
It's a track vehicle.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that is one expensive piece of machinery. And I just look at that, I look at it like putting a mower on that to mow with a track vehicle, it's kind of, for that piece of equipment, it seems like going after a mouse within a 1 acre tank. I would think of a wheeled vehicle. I mean, the state just came up through and did Clark, or Hill Road and Clark Road, and all those. I mean, it's a ridiculous lawnmower. A mower, yeah, it's not the type of
Right.
mower that you're talking, it's a full mower. Makes all the punchy sticks. and
Right.
stuff, but I just,
But it-
I'm concerned about, I mean, that's a very nice brand new
It
excavator.
is, and it is.
I mean, I'd like to have it on my property, to be honest with you.
But understand
Mowing
this,
with it?
I bought the excavator to work with, not to sit there and look pretty.
I understand that, but mowing it just seems like that might be.
And the reason to buy a tractor with the boom mower, with the mower like the state has, costs a lot more than that excavator costs. And that's the truth of it. It really is. With a boom mower. That boom mower is probably $40,000, just the mower itself. And that's and then you're buying another 80 horsepower tractor to run it. Yep.
You said you missed the roads? I didn't-
Yeah, I was looking for, I sent that email out looking for a list of the roads that would be used. on.
Right. No,
And
and-
I haven't heard anything
You
back, so.
didn't because I
And that
didn't-
was
I didn't have
like
time
what,
to do it. You're right.
well, that's what the budget committee was
You're right.
asked
I
for.
didn't- and I
So we
didn't have
don't know, I can't present saying,
Fine.
we're gonna do so many miles of road with it and what roads need it.
No, and I'm not gonna sit in front of the board and argue about something that I know, and that is a thought from somebody else. So you guys make your decision, and that's how it's gonna be, and I'll work with whatever I have. But know this, when we go there, the roads still need to be mowed, and that's $7,500 to have the roads mowed. Now, I'm gonna spend $7,500 to have the roads mowed. or spend $8,500 and buy the mower. It's 6 and 1 half. It's up to you guys. I understand what you're
It's just,
coming
it's not much vote for
Huh?
obtaining information.
I will.
The more is different
That's
this
fine.
meeting then.
I have no question that you need the, it would benefit the town to have the machine. I'm just questioning whether or not we can put it off until March instead of putting
Absolutely.
it out of the
We
budget.
can absolutely put it off.
That's how I
But
do
will
it.
you
That's
be
all I'm
mowing
asking.
this fall?
I'll be mowing it by hand,
Okay.
which is fine. We can mow it by hand. I got no issue with that. Let's mow it by hand.
Till March.
We'll make the sidewalks black. If that's what we want to see, we'll make them black. I got no issue with it either way. I know that the sidewalks have been neglected and they need to be done, so if that's the way we're gonna go with it, let's go with it.
I do want to make one comment, and I do appreciate Jane's input, as well as the chairman of the budget committee, but the expenditure of the budget is expressly the selectmen's responsibility, and the budget committee's responsibility is preparing that budget. So even though they may have the questions, and as any citizen in Tilton has every right to question, it is the selectmen's decision, not the budget committee's, on what expenditures we make out of that budget, as long as we don't go over.
Can I?
Does the board? Go ahead, yes.
So, my question is, we need it mowed. How are we gonna do it? How are we gonna pay for it? When are we gonna pay for it?
Yep.
And if we use some of the money from the grant and take away from the sidewalks, in your opinion, what is priority in terms of safety? The mowing or the sidewalk?
I can get the job done mowing it by hand. The sidewalks are a priority, they're in rough shape. So if that's what we need, if that's what should be done, then let's do that and see about the mower in a previous time. I have no issue with that. I do stress that it is gonna have to be mowed by something other than by hand at some point. So we're gonna need to look at that in the future. It's not whether it's gonna be done tomorrow or the next. I can mow, cut the stuff back that needs to be cut back. It's just, I'm gonna have to put some time into it, so it's gonna tie up a lot of time to do other stuff. That's all.
Yeah, and I just want to say I appreciate you advocating for this stuff. I mean, I want to make sure you have the tools you need for the job that we've given you. So it's just a matter of what's priority and...
No, and I think as, like they said, the sidewalks have been neglected for some years, and they can be, the money's there, so if that's what we're gonna do, let's use it to do sidewalks with, and get the sidewalks out of the way.
But wait, besides the block grant money that we've just received from the state, the extra block grant money, we already have money in a reserve fund to do roads and sidewalks, do we not?
Excuse me, I'm sorry?
We already have money in a reserve fund to do roads and sidewalks, correct?
Yeah, I don't know what's left after the sidewalks out here, but this was put in prior to this year's money
Right,
too.
that's
So
right.
there
All right.
there is money there to do the sidewalks.
I see. All right, so,
How much is it?
a question.
I-
For the
I-
selectmen. Do you want to make a motion to purchase this tonight? Do you want to gather more information? Or is the board inclined to put it in the budget for a vote at town meeting?
I'd like to ask if the money's there, what is the benefit to waiting till next year? Would we save money? Would we, as opposed to getting it all done right now and be safe and be...
I don't think the price is gonna be that much different between right now and next year. I really don't.
I don't think we'll get extra block grant money next year.
And that's true, that is true. And who knows, maybe we will, I don't know. But the price of the mower isn't gonna change just so drastically that it matters now.
I mean, if anything, the price would probably go up. So I'm just saying...
Could go down if you buy it in the middle of winter.
Okay.
It's not like buying a snowmobile or a four-wheeler. The price of equipment stays the price of these.
It's gonna stay the same, they go into
So
producing
what's the
something
benefit?
else.
What is the benefit of waiting other than having it prepared, which is ideal, of course, but...
Be cost less for the taxpayers by the price of the mower because we'll be doing, the block grant money will all be used on all the sidewalk. So next year, we won't have to be taxing people to do that. $8,500 worth of sidewalk building that we've neglected for
Or
10 years.
But
You can look at it that we already have money put aside in the reserve fund that we've been putting aside for sidewalks
money.
and roads and whatnot to
But
do
like
those
you
things.
said,
And we have extra
and that's
block
just
grant
money
money.
shifting, so it's
No, it's not money shifting, not at all.
Well, it's how are we gonna pay for it? So I'm curious as to, so you're saying if we buy the mower next year, we're going to save money? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
That's one selectman's opinion, but
no, this is fact.
can we hear from Tim?
Well, I was
It is
just going to give you the
selectmen's
info on the balances. So
Maybe two.
as of the end of this year with our current year funding, for the roads, street, bridges, sidewalks, we'll have $264,000 plus dollars in that fund. And the highway block grant that we received was $54,400 and change. So you have that.
Is that added into the 200 and
No.
some?
No, in fact, it has to be separate. It can't be put into that fund. So it's restricted it for the purposes that it can be spent. And as I said, we will through the highway equipment capital reserve fund have sufficient balance to purchase it out there if need be. It just would take the fund down to about $1,000.
So you could buy a piece of equipment out of the equipment fund.
You could.
And what further purchases might you have next year for the equipment fund?
I don't have any.
Okay. Peter, you had your hand up earlier.
One thing to caution, if you want to go hog wild on sidewalks, that's fine. Bear in mind, they're going to deteriorate at about the same time, so 20, 30 years down the road, we're going to have a whole big slew of sidewalks that'll need to be reconstructed. As opposed to trying to phase in equal amounts every year.
Pat, you had something you wanted to say?
A couple of weeks ago, well, maybe a month ago, when we found out we were getting the block grant, we were all oohing and ahhing and said perhaps maybe we could ask Breton for a quote. Did we ever get that quote?
I put it out.
Do we have a...
I put it out to him to get a quote, and he simply said that we're very, very busy. Which is what you're gonna get from anybody this time
So
of
we
year.
have no idea of
We don't.
what it
No, we
would
don't.
cost to get the sidewalks done?
That we don't.
So we don't know if it's
you could do
30
a
or
rough-
20.
I'm sorry, you could do a rough estimate based on what we've just
You can,
did,
yes,
but
yeah, you
and
can,
give
you
it a
can. To
percentage
give it
of
a close proximity to what
And give it a
was.
percentage.
So what would be
increase.
the rough estimate of what we
It
would
depends
have?
on where, you guys have to apparently tell me where you want me to put the sidewalks.
We have a plan, right? 10-year plan?
Yeah, we have a
So
sidewalk,
we
have a
start
10-year
at the
plan.
worst and
Okay, so can we get back to the discussion? of
Well,
what-
I think it's important on that discussion because if we have $264,000 in the revolving fund, and then we have our block grant money, we asked for an estimate for specific spots for sidewalks to do with the block grant. If we knew about how much that would be, you could kind of backtrack that and say, well, do we have it, do we don't have it, and then backtrack it from there.
Except we just heard from our finance officer that you can take the whole issue of using block grant money to do sidewalk because we have money in the equipment reserve fund to purchase equipment. And our public works director has no plans for buying equipment next year. So we don't even have to worry about block grant money being used on equipment. We can use it all for roads and sidewalks. And the purchase of this mower could be taken out of the equipment fund.
And that being said, we're
was
not gonna
already
have to buy
raised and
equipment for a
appropriated.
long time.
yeah.
We have the equipment we need to do the job.
So, all right.
So it comes out of the equipment fund instead of the block grant money.
But you had asked me for an estimate, but I can't give you an estimate if I don't, I gave you a list of what sidewalks I thought you get done, but I can't give you an estimate if I don't know if that's what you want me to do or not.
Well, we had given some names of the sidewalks prior, like about a month or so ago.
You got a big difference between Main Street versus Winter Street and West Main.
Well, I thought
Between
we said-
utilities and,
I thought we said West Main from Winter Street
To the high school,
to the
yeah.
high school.
But that wasn't ever said, there was nothing that ever said, Brock, this is what we want to do, so I didn't.
It's only been a discussion.
But Catherine is right in what she's saying. It wouldn't matter because if Tim is saying that the money can come out of the revolving fund because we're not having purchases next year, which is what we
I don't have.
did not know.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
It's on you.
And even in the first.
If you're gonna add anything
in the
more, can
future,
you wait
the only
for
thing I
Ashley?
see
Yes.
5, 6, 7 years down the road would be a pickup truck at some point, and that's years down the road. We're good for.
Hi.
That was strange.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane.
I have a new phone, I was trying to clear my screen.
That's cool.
That's a call.
All right. How much money do we normally put into that equipment fund every year?
35,000.
Okay. So that would be adequate. We wouldn't have to raise that.
I had a question
All right,
about
can
bidding on sidewalks.
Can we let Tim,
I
have them off?
I have to, I had to recalculate with our December payment that we're gonna be making out of there. So, we would be within, it looks like we might be short about 3,000 in the December payment. So once I added all the things together, so it'd be just short,
We can't get it from
not
the
entirely.
equipment.
Not entirely.
But almost 2/3 of it,
How much is the more?
85. All right, so Ashley, we had a little brief discussion, I don't know if you caught it or not, that, excuse me, at one point, we thought that we could take it all out of the equipment fund, but as Tim just said, we'll be 3,000 short.
And that's dependent also on the final outfitting cost of the Ford. So if there is some savings in that final outfitting, or maybe 1,000 or so, it might be less than that. What the board could do is to allocate the remainder of the fund towards that, and then take whatever balance is short out of the SB 38 block grant. So, but we're talking about roughly $3,000.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to purchase the mower that the Public Works Director described for $8,500.
From where?
Wherever our finance officer deems most,
Oh, no, come on.
well,
Excluding the block grant money.
how are you going to exclude the block grant money if? I don't think $3,000 out of the block grant money is going to hit our mess doing sidewalks, especially since I'm pretty sure we're not going to be doing them this year.
We're gonna.
The construction
I'll try my best to get somebody to do it.
We're not
Do
going
we have to use that block grant money this year?
no.
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
in
Just
fact,
allocate it.
It's set aside, it can't be put into the general fund, so it's set aside in a special fund that's restricted for just those purposes that it's earmarked for by the state.
So the rest of my motion would be to allow Tim to be creative and utilize as much as we can of the equipment fund to make the purchase. Any more discussion? I believe, Ashley, you made the second?
Yes, second.
Any more discussion on the motion on the table?
Yes. Let's say we have something happens with a piece of equipment. And we're going into the winter.
Yeah.
We don't have any money left in our equipment fund that's been budgeted for this year. We've spent it all. Now, that would come out of the general fund or from other line items.
I don't believe the equipment fund is for repairs.
Right, but here's the
Well,
line items.
But let's say one of the
A
sanders...
catastrophic failure is what you're saying?
Of one of the sanders completely failed and can't be repaired, we need to purchase a new sander.
If you had a catastrophic failure like that, that's what your reserve funds are for, instead of using them to offset your tax rate. That's what fund balance is for. All right, any more discussion on the motion on the table? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? Motion
I'm
carries.
gonna say nay. I don't want to see it come out of the block grant. motion carries.
Well, there were 3 ayes.
Let's get some roads done.
I'm sorry, were you still?
No, I said I was going to say no.
Oh,
Only because you made it with the possibility of taking out the block grant money, and I was against that.
oh, okay. All right,
I'm not against the mower.
all right. So 3 ayes, 2's motion carries. I heard the 3 ayes. All right. Moving right along. Anything else for us?
No, I'm good.
You're-
Run while
Thank
you
you very
can.
much.
You're welcome. All right. We
Two
expect
hands
to
over there.
see you
Thank you for answering
continuing.
all
I
our
will.
questions. and-
Hands over there.
Come up, Dennis. Yes, Gail.
Can you open the public hearing, please?
Oh, thank you. I totally did. Give me a snap. Dennis, you can come on up. At this time, I'd like to open a public hearing. Pursuant to Article 13 of the 2008 Tilton Town Meeting, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing to receive public comment on the purchase of police cruiser equipment using accumulated surplus funds from the Police Special Duty Revolving Fund established in 2008. All right. Does everybody know Dennis Manning?
I'm not here to talk about the police cruiser.
Good thing.
All right. What can we do for you tonight?
Okay, I'm gonna break tradition. I'm gonna start with the solution before a problem. How's that?
That's a
So-
fabulous idea.
That's what I,
OMG.
that's what I always used to require my guys. Don't come complaining unless you have a solution. So the solution to my problem is, I brought it up at the, just to go back, I brought this issue up at the town meeting. It
Okay.
had to do with option A of the trash stuff. So my solution is, for people like myself, is that the town order some specific trash stickers, like we have our, or not trash stickers, but our DPW sticker that we have to put on our vehicles. For those people who have refused, as I have refused my containers. The thing with that is I refuse the containers based on the meeting. And what I had brought up at the meeting was, like, I have no use for 296 gallon trash containers because my driveway being 2/10 of a mile long, it's just a pain in the neck. I always make the trip down to the DPW shed either on Wednesday or on Sunday. Okay, so I bring my stuff down because it's just easier. If I gotta load the truck up, I just take it down. And I don't load the truck up with 296 gallon containers because, you know, I'm still in pretty good shape, but I'm not in that good a shape anymore. So when we had talked about that, any of y'all recollect that, the verbiage that went back and forth? Okay.
Something.
I don't think that Joyce Fullwell is gonna come up and help me with my garbage, so, that's why I want the sticker. I'll still do my own trash, but I don't wanna buy purple trash bags. I went down, once I refused my containers, obviously I've been down to the DPW shed, and it now says, starting September 10th, purple trash bags only. Well, I'm like, I'm not using curbside trash pickup, so it's not like I'm getting away with anything. And if I don't have those containers that were issued by the town, then obviously I'm certainly not gonna get over on anybody by getting trash picked up because they're not gonna do it. So for those people, I know there are a few other people that spoke up as well, having difficulties getting trash here and there. I don't know if they're Range Road people or whomever. There was another older gentleman who said he had a hard time. So like I said, I'd be willing to pay for a sticker, whatever you want. I'm not willing to pay like $100 for a sticker. I'm talking, you know, like a $10 or less kind of sticker.
Oh, so you're talking about a once-a-year type of sticker.
Or unless you want to make it a lifetime sticker. I'd rather be a lifetime member for $10. How's that? You know, but I think instead of purple bags, I'd like a purple sticker. That way, anybody who has refused those, you know, you have your shot to go down there. That way, I say sticker only because you can't expect the DPW guys to sit out there and go, wait a minute. Oh yeah, you're the guy. You know, I don't expect that. But, so that's my solution to my dilemma. We get stickers every year. I don't think everybody actually picks the stickers up, puts them on their vehicle. I do, but I just think we should have something that differentiates those who refuse their trash receptacles to be able to dump their 96 gallons of trash each week without paying for bags.
I think that's a
Go ahead,
great
Ashley.
idea. How are we gonna know how much you're bringing? So right now it's limited to that bin.
Right,
So
well,
what
that's,
if
I mean,
you go with a truck full? You know what I mean? How would
it is manned down there. I mean, every time I go down there, as a matter of fact, I probably jaw jack a little too much. I won't say that. I'm not taking the guys away from their employment, but
Yes, you are.
no. That's
But even if it's manned, you know, for technical purposes, how are they gonna know what's acceptable? Are they gonna take it and put it into a bin and measure, or And I don't think you're gonna abuse it.
Well, no,
but I'm
it's
just kinda-
basically three 33-gallon
3-gallon
bags.
bags.
It's a 96 receptacle. I mean, I generally come down, I have the little brute bags. I mean, they're gonna know that I'm within the limit because I'm gonna come down with less than a 33-gallon, because I mean, I can come down and dump recycling all day long. That's what I mostly have, because I recycle.
So
I
if
mean,
we issued stickers, you would think it would be a 3-bag limit? As
Well,
opposed to
well,
now
that's what
it's
the
whatever.
3-bag limit is. You
Well,
only
now
get-
it's whatever fits into the bin.
Well,
which is right, which is
well, right now, if you're not using the bin, and you're not using a bin, so you're talking about bags, if you use a purple trash bag, you can throw as many of them as you want away at the town garage, because you're buying the bags.
because I'm buying the bags.
We have not made an exception or an allowance for what you're suggesting.
Right, and that's why I brought up at town meeting before we voted on option A.
Yeah, but they,
That was the discussion, and
They
everybody was like,
voted.
"Oh yeah, you can do your 3 bags,"
They
and then
spoke.
we left it.
town meeting spoke.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense to me. I guess we
Right,
could ask
because-
Tony how many bags does he think could fit into that, and
But you have the, actually, I think what, part of what you're missing is that the legislative body voted on a specific procedure at town meeting. And the town meeting was that we were gonna get, it was option A, option B, whatever, the trash barrels. And this is the way, and Dennis spoke against it, he got up and spoke
I didn't
against
speak
it.
against it, I
Well,
spoke
you
for the
spoke
option.
about the
I wanted
option, right, the
Right,
other
I wanted to
option.
clarify how I would be able to track, dump
And
it.
the town voted not in the way that Dennis wanted them to vote in it.
But not because of that.
No, that's not
It
true.
was-
Option A was
yeah.
curbside, option B was not curbside.
it was like black or white.
Of
Or recycling, right.
Yes, the second
So,
option was not.
Right, when
to
I
pick
get up, I
curbside
specifically said, and I think it's like 4 minutes, and you can start me at about 4:22 on videotape, because I went back to see how specific it was, and it wasn't really that specific any which way. I don't think anybody, Joe basically said, we never really thought about that. And then we had the discussion, and then at the end, though, Joyce said, if you have troubles, we will come help you. And I'm not banking on that. Okay? So, you know.
I might have a good solution.
Let me
I'd like
read
to throw out there.
let me read the article that was approved at town meeting.
Oh, I know what it is, and it specifically
No,
says.
for the benefit of the rest of the selectmen and the public. To see if the town will vote to continue with curbside municipal solid waste and curbside collection of single-stream recyclables using separate 96-gallon automated bins for solid waste provided by Pinard Waste Services and a separate 96-gallon automated bin for recyclables provided by the town. The recyclables or the MSW refuse generated in excess of the 3 bags in the 96-gallon bin would require the purchase of Town of Tilton purple trash bags to be collected curbside or dropped off at the highway garage for disposal at the incinerator. There is no limit to the number of recyclables placed curbside. That's what was voted on, that's what was passed.
Right.
John?
I have a possible solution, and I think the problem is that your driveway is so far away from where you have to put the cans that it's very difficult to move those things, especially in winter and that. So if you're allowed 96 gallons per week times 52 weeks in the year, that's 4,992 gallons. If you divide that by 33 gallons, it's 151.272. So that would be the equivalent of receiving 151 purple trash bags a year that you could dispose of. And my solution would be, because of his unique predicament for not being able to get those down to the curb, that each year he get issued a total of 151. Do you want 252 or do you want .272? We'll make it 100.
Issuing
We'll make,
trash bags?
Cheap bags.
we'll make it 152 receptacles that you can bring down, purple bags that you can bring down, dispose of free. Yes, they are weak bags, but you could put your bags inside them, and that would allow you 152, the exact amount of trash that everybody else in the town is allowed to bring, and it wouldn't cost you anything.
Way more logistically encumbering.
152 bags?
I know, but I'm just saying for you guys.
Sell them
I
down,
think-
make some money.
We'll come and give them to you.
I mean, for
And
that,
then you
rate,
can't
they
go.
might as well- they've got my bin down there, because I brought it back down before I found out that I was gonna need to buy bags and stuff. I mean, I can always put, know.
Or charge them
You can put tennis
$152
banding
for the
on my
sticker.
bag,
But you know,
charge me what for a sticker?
$152.
That would solve it.
My-
You'd get the same amount of trash as
my
everybody
driveway
else.
is nowhere near as long as yours, but it is long.
Right. But you know, like,
I take my trash receptacle, I put on my smallest tow hitch bottle, I put the handle over it, and I drive it down with my car.
yeah.
And when it's done, I
I can
bring
tell you
it
what's
back
gonna
the
have an
same
axle on
way.
those plastic wheels after a little bit.
Well, I don't drive 10, 20 miles an hour,
I
I
know
drive
that,
it nice
but-
and slow, but I've been doing that ever since we have the container.
Right. I mean, I don't care. In the summertime, I can keep it up there. It's less of a pain in the neck to mow around it than it is than it is to plow. Plowing, you know, I'm still waiting on Kenny to come up. Kenny's been very busy this year. He's supposed to redo that, the first 250 feet, so it's a lot more user friendly. But I don't know if I'm going to get that before snow.
Gonna be tough.
Yeah. So I'm not banking on that, but it's just, I know it's not you guys' problem, but that's why I brought it up at the town meeting. I said, hey, I want to ask, because if you're saying we can throw away these 96 gallons of trash, these 33-gallon bags that we're allowed to dispense down there at the DPW shed, I don't believe, that's why I wanted to ask about, well, okay, am I going to have to pay for the purple bags? Okay, and it kind of got danced around a little bit, and then we voted on option A, because it was basically about recycling, not necessarily about.
Against.
You'll have to use the bags. May I suggest that we discuss this next week when Joyce is here? And then perhaps you could discuss your plan with Joyce? And would you run your plan by Joyce as well?
Right. But I think 33-gallon bags, like I said, if the guys are down there, it's not that hard for them to say, hey, if somebody's kifing, if I go down there with a whole truckload of 33-gallon bags, they're gonna.
Well, the biggest problem is somebody else goes to throw the purple bags in there, and they look and they say, there's 3 black bags, 3 white bags. You didn't charge them, and then
Well, then we can educate them.
then you'd have to
For
teach
right
everybody.
now, we'll have to abide by the ordinance that's in place.
But I think your
Until we make
request
a
is
resolution.
perfectly reasonable, and hopefully we can help.
Or now that they have my receptacle back down there where I turned it back in and he logged me back in, can they just push it up there and put, Dennis Manning on that? I'll just throw my crap down in there. And then they'll know I only get 96 gallons a week.
There you go.
That's a
I
good,
didn't even
That'll
think of
alleviate
that.
Joyce having to come up and lug it up the driveway.
That was
for me.
classic.
that's a good one.
That was
You know?
classic.
Anyway,
Once
I
a
don't want
week
to.
you
I don't want to
can-
belabor that. I know you have
No,
a
thank
hearing
you,
to do.
Dennis. We'll
but
give it
I
its
just
due
wanted to bring that up.
diligence, and
Thank you for hearing me.
you're very welcome. Thanks
I
for
like
coming in.
solutions. Those creative.
Treasure, welcome back. Are you here to just observe, or do you have something you want to discuss with us? Have you talked to the chief about it and why he put them there? Okay. He's coming in next week, so we can discuss it further with him. So if you can come, you're welcome to stay here. I'm delighted to see you, but if you can come next week, I believe we're going to have him scheduled for that discussion. I can't tell you exactly
Right
what.
now, they have a solution.
Okay.
If the problem is the trash people, which now I understand is trash people, that knock the cars off the street, because they can't use the automatic if the Lebanon Academy has cars there. Then why don't you post it, no parking at night, and no parking from 7 to 10, like they do in the city.
That's a good question for the chief. I don't know.
This is a true hardship.
I don't know. Well, what happens in the winter when the parking ban is on? Not if it's snowing.
Then they go to the woods.
Okay. I was just curious. I really didn't know the answer. Okay.
It's
All right.
snowing. They have to do something. Because, I got stuck with a driveway full of cars today. The lawnmower guy kept my client from leaving because he was parked behind her, was parked behind me. I wasn't gonna stop work, because
Okay.
work didn't happen Tuesday, because my lawnmower person saw the signs and just break the law, I'd watch out. Because he's there for what, 20 minutes? He's got a truck and a trailer, he pulls in, gets the job done and leaves. I don't mind sitting on the street looking for cops.
Well, again, this is,
I mean, this is really a problem.
this is an excellent discussion next week from the
Cannot
chief.
have guests. Elderly people cannot walk up that hill. So grandma can't visit. If you want to limit the amount of cars, if you want to tell me where they can park, give me something on our level for a short period of daylight hours.
Is it my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Chief say that until it's resolved that there won't be any tickets issued, or no?
I don't know who told me, maybe it was you, Gail, this morning, that they're not gonna, 30 days? Did I hear somebody say 30 days?
I don't think it's 30 days, but he usually gives a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Well,
But-
the chief told me that they gave him a grace, gave people, why didn't they tell me there was a grace period? I don't get any information. So, not chief, Captain somebody, maybe Martin.
Yes.
He told me the grace period ends tomorrow, so I didn't bother telling my tenants they could park for 2 days. Once he contacted me. And that he was gonna notify 11 to stop parking on the street because they park right in front of the sign.
So can we, I know we voted to leave the signs up because that would be silly to keep putting them up and down until we resolve it, but can we extend that period? Can we ask that they do that? I'm not even, I don't have all the information, I guess.
Well,
as to-
I don't, so here's, my personal quandary is I don't know if the sign was put on Academy Street because of the garbage pickup, and I don't know if it was a safety issue. I do know the two complaints I had to do with, as Tim described earlier, and a woman that called me, she was concerned because she was pushed into the guardrails. So those are safety issues. My suggestion is you're coming back Thursday next week when the chief is here, and we have this discussion with him and find out more clearly why he chose to put the signs up when he did. If it was, safety, garbage, combination of both, one or the other. And, yeah.
Well, there is an email from the chief that said, "I will gladly speak to anyone that calls, and we will not issue tickets until next week." So that would be September 1st, that would be
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. And it says, "I did let Tilton School know about Area 5 and 9 Academy Street, as it was one of the spots that Catherine mentioned was too tight for parking on the crest of the hill. The second spot mentioned
I
was..."
rest my case.
That's
Thank you.
exactly what was said to me. I relayed the message exactly as I got it to the chief. I didn't tell him what to do with it.
This
Tricia, we are
email
not
says-
all in agreement whether the sign should be up there or not.
And the chief said that it was you that made that decision.
I
to
did
put the
not
ticket up.
make the decision. I
I'm
gave
just
him the
reading what
information.
the chief said. So he went on your decision, not on his decision.
That's correct.
And
That
that's
is
why I'm
not
asking the
correct.
That's what he
selectmen.
told us.
I talked to the
To
chief
give-
here the other morning.
Can we possibly let the PD know to extend it for another week, have her come back next week?
Well, I was going to ask you to have the chief get in touch with Patricia tomorrow,
Okay.
as soon as possible.
And maybe he can make an extension for the next week.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that when clearly the RSA says that the chief is not responsible for putting up signs? It's the Board of Selectmen.
And the RSA
Depends
is
on
not...
how
It
you
doesn't.
interpret
Listen. The RSA is right here.
We've already had this vote.
No, because he interpreted the RSA
We've already had
differently than
this
what it is.
vote. This is
City
absurd.
councils are not us.
No, it says under Article RSA 4111 that we,
How about you come
the
back to
selectmen
order?
may regulate the use of all public highways or city council's 41, and then you refer to 47.
How about we calm
So it
down
does include city
and-
councils
How
and
about
selectmen.
if we stop yelling at people?
Listen,
How about
if
we
you
start
want to
there?
talk over me, I will have to voice my opinion. It's illegal for those signs to be up.
I'm
Illegal.
requesting that they be removed immediately as a selectman, and I've just as much right, if you told the chief to put the signs
I
up,
did
I have the
not
right to
tell
tell the
him-
chief to take the signs down immediately.
I did
Period.
not
And I
tell
agree
the
with Pat
chief to
that
put
she
the
should not
signs
be
up.
blocked from her parking there, and I think she should go out there and remove them herself, because I would not allow them to
That would be a
prosecute for
crime.
that. Why? I, as the selectman,
We
am directing
got,
her to do that.
I got legal counsel, and legal counsel said the only people that can put up a sign and delegate someone to put up a sign is the Board of Selectmen and not the chief.
From an organization that is not always correct in their interpretations of the laws,
We rely on that organization for a lot of things.
and we
They're not
sometimes
more
get
knowledgeable.
conflicting.
And now on this one subject, we're not going to agree with it? That's crap.
What is
Yeah.
our goal? Our goal is safety.
Our goal
No, our
is
goal
safety.
is to
public.
do things by the law. The law is right there in front of Pat. We violated the law, we violated the procedure,
Right.
and that is wrong. And we have residents here who are greatly being, they cannot.
It's a
live their
hardship.
thing. It's a hardship for them.
And what
Based
about-
on, it's off the
What
cuff,
about the
we're gonna put a
safety-
sign in front of this woman's house. Well,
What
what
about-
about in front of my house? Because the same thing goes on.
What about
Better
the
put one
safety of the
up there.
motoring public?
Horrible.
May I please speak?
Yes,
Horrible.
please do.
The goal, yes, is to, of course, obey the law, but I'm trying to resolve this tonight based on rational thinking, which is, it is a hardship for her, and it may or may not be a safety issue. And I wasn't present for the conversation, but certainly miscommunications can take place where you said something and then he took that as to do it. So I don't think that's the issue. That what's done is done, so we should clarify in the future how we're going to decide, or, you know, clarify the law and follow that for next time, so we can take this as a learning experience. And, you know, maybe we could even get a hold of the chief right now and just say, is this a safety issue or not? Because it seems like it's becoming personal, people are raising their voices, this shouldn't be personal.
It's injustice.
And I don't, you know, let's just figure it out and figure it out quickly.
We've never done this to residents without notice. Never.
Well, and I
How
understand
old
that, and
is
I
your
don't think
house?
that's right, but I think that
What
point
year?
is moot. So I think in the future, we should make sure that
Has there ever
we're
been a sign in front of
taking
your
the
house?
proper procedures.
It's never been a safety issue since that house was built on the date that this town was incorporated.
And there used to be a sidewalk.
But
And-
this is
And now all of a
what,
sudden,
There used to be a sidewalk?
last week on September 1st, that road became unsafe after 100 and, how many years?
With no data to back it up.
With no data.
Email from
No
Margaret
discussion, no
Burns.
data.
so let's find out what the
Travis.
safety issue is and whether it was one or two
Talk with them.
complaints or not. If it was one complaint and it was enough to cause concern, maybe the signs are warranted. I don't know that they are.
Somebody was run into the rail that was not at my house.
Okay.
So the tenant that was parked on the side of the road was not at all involved.
If I said run into the rails, someone, she said she was run in towards the rails.
But that's beyond my house. It's
I can only
beyond
tell you
someone.
what-
So let's work towards a solution.
And I think that solution is for the chief to contact her first thing in the morning, have that conversation, and Gail, you can let the chief know that, are we all in favor of extending the moratorium on the tickets until he can come in next Thursday and clarify this whole situation?
I don't want to be picky, and I'm not taking sides or anything, but
I'd like to get legal counsel.
should it be a true safety issue? I'd like to find that out tomorrow,
like
because
to
should the
get-
signs be warranted, we can talk about where we go from there, but should it be an actual safety issue, I want to know tomorrow, not next week, because I don't want to say, yeah, let's not ticket people and then have some serious accident, because I don't have all the
You know what's
information.
happening now? Speed
And that's a separate issue from the
It's
signs.
what's happened now that there's no cars, and I respect that it's a separate issue.
So Ashley, how would you suggest that we?
I think we should have an answer from him. I mean, it technically doesn't start till tomorrow anyway, so we'll just, ask him that certainly nobody's ticketed tomorrow, and then we need an answer as to what the safety issue is, what the level of concern is, and get his professional opinion on that.
There hasn't been an accident.
Gail, did you hear that?
I don't know that there hasn't been an accident though, so I'd like to hear that from the chief and find out what the safety issue is, and at least for now, can we take them down, or, just say that we're not gonna issue tickets until we figure it out, or do they really need to be up now until we figure it out?
Put a trash bag over them.
They're really ugly. I wish they'd take it away from my pretty house.
Are your streets posted with the no parking signs for the
Always.
winter ban?
Always. We don't need that.
Well, would you consider maybe making it a one-way street? Because I know when I drive it, I have to go around cars there, and I can't see over the hill. And twice, as I said earlier, I've been approached on the other side, and I would have been at fault for an accident.
That sounds like a major safety issue. So I think we can get an answer from him tomorrow.
Or make it one way. Just-
Well, that's a whole nother discussion. But
find an answer tomorrow about whether we can actually not issue tickets, or if it's safety, we can't just say we can't issue tickets. If it's safety, then really we should be issuing tickets and making sure that street is clear.
But the RSA says that we're
We
supposed
also
to
need,
go,
right,
you have to do it by the law.
Then
clarification on the
Right,
RSA.
correct.
If there's a difference of
are you-
interpretation of it, we need clarification on it, because I was very, very, very distinctly told that it was the Board of Selectmen's purview and not the chief's purview to put up signs of any kind.
And that clarification we do need, but I think we could all agree that safety is priority.
Did you
No
make
ticket should be issued until this is clarified, and it happened to me on my neighborhood, and I'm
It'd be nice to have known.
You probably should have
Some
let.
guy crawling on my front lawn, pounded in a sign.
But Gail, it was my understanding that, didn't Joyce ask the chief, or didn't he volunteer to go to Academy Street to talk to the people who had complained?
Oh, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so those are questions we can ask him next week. And Ashley, Gail, you'll take care of that request tomorrow. Thank you. All right.
I don't need a call from the chief, I'll come in next week.
Well,
But you know what the police told me? Put my car in the garage, give my tenant the driveway, and move my business off location. That's what I was told.
are you gonna be here next week?
I can be a lot easier than it was this week. What time is the proper time for people?
6.
We've got an appointment at 5 and an appointment at 6, so it'll be after 6.
After 6, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gail. At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing on the purchase of police cruiser equipment. Selectmen's report. Oh, Tim, do you have anything in your report you want to go over with us?
Yes. I'll just bring a few things to your attention, and these were in conjunction with what Joyce needed to get done. So if you're looking at my report, number 1 was just an FYI for you. Number 2 is the engagement letter for Donahue Tucker attorneys for the review of the MetroCast agreement, the sale of MetroCast. So they had sent, I believe it was earlier this week, Gail, they had sent an engagement letter which required some modification, but they sent it via mail, and then they did finally send an email with the letter. And I don't believe we received the corrected the address was incorrect, and there was one signature place. So in order for them to get started, if the board would make a motion to sign or designate the chair to sign the engagement letter. They had estimated, I believe, 2 to 3 hours to review the sale agreement. And I guess Joyce had set this up and talked to the board last week about this. So this is the result of that, which needs to be signed. Would you like me to go on? The next item is the MS1 inventory valuation. So this was prepared by Lauren Martin, the town's assessor from Avatar Associates, and it is DRA's Municipal Services 1 form, and it shows our total town valuation. It's what we use for tax rate purposes and other reporting purposes to the state. The town's value grew by $4,431,877, or about 13/10 under 1% over the years. So our total town value now is $510,034,257. So if the board would make a motion to accept the MS1 and sign the form, it is in your to-be-signed folder. In addition...
Motion to accept the MS1.
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, yeah.
We need a motion for the previous item regarding
I did have a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the engagement of Donahue Tucker as our attorney to review and comment on the MetroCast sale documentation, and further to authorize the chair, Catherine Dawson, to sign the attorney's engagement agreement.
Second.
I have a question.
Discussion?
Under the considerations relating to the decision to waive, it explains Tilton, and it says very clearly, as to the final question, that it's necessarily Tilton's choice and not ours. Although we are certainly willing to discuss potential amendments to this waiver that you would like us consider, you should know that without a mutually acceptable waiver, we will not represent Tilton in the underlying matter. And finally, under the rules of professional conduct, we also will be required to disclose the limited representation of Tilton to any potential client who seek our counsel, and they will make their own determination as to whether they wish to proceed, knowing of our limited role in this matter. To the extent that you agree to waive future conflicts of interest as described herein, please proceed to Exhibit A, our firm's traditional special counsel representation agreement. If those terms and conditions are also acceptable to you, please sign the enclosed. So there, we have to waive all future conflicts, and this is from a firm that we generally use on a regular basis. How does that affect us as the town of Tilton outside of the MetroCast agreement?
I honestly don't know. I understood that to be their standard form waiver, and that this was expected based on what Joyce had discussed with you last week.
I think it was still unclear, though. When we discussed it, I was unclear.
It says, accordingly, through this letter, our firm seeks a waiver from you of future conflicts within the context and under the conditions and limitations contained in this letter. I just don't know what that means for future.
So I would recommend then holding off on that until next week.
And then
maybe
Joyce can get us an answer?
Joyce may already have the answer.
Why don't we have Jesse look at it?
So, The last item I had for you was, I understood that there was a question about how many purple bags the town currently had. And going back to July of 2016, which is when we received the, yes.
We have a motion hanging on the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I suggest we just motion down. So all those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye. Opposed?
So,
Yes.
as of July 2016, we had 83 cases of small bags and 67 cases of large bags. So, on the surface, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you multiply the number of rolls and bags in each case, it works out to be 16,750 large bags and 33,200 small bags. So roughly a retail value of $58,000. Outside of that, I just had some information for the public hearing in case any questions arose. And then the last item was just to let you know that the departments had met the deadline for submitting budget requests, and that there are still a number of outstanding items that we won't have this early on, insurance information, some things of that sort. And that's outside agencies and boards and commissions. So we are at a point where we need to schedule the departments to come in and meet with the board and discuss the budget. So I would recommend starting that next week.
How about if the selectmen look at the budget before we schedule them to come in and have a conversation with them on a budget we haven't seen yet? Just,
I agree. I agree with you.
pardon?
Next week, or
Next week is full.
Well, we can still look at the budget,
If
though.
we could get
Sure.
the budget,
but not have to.
Right.
and I don't think we have to wait until next Thursday. When is it going to be ready? It's a draft. It's a complete draft.
It is a very preliminary budget, and it does require some explanation because of some of the requests. So, but I can see about documenting that and emailing it, or meeting with the board and going through it.
Does it
It's
go in
unfamiliar
line
with
with
this.
Catherine's motion last week to keep it a level funding?
I was not aware there was a motion made to keep it level funded, and no, it's not. And primarily because of some of the bigger initiatives that we have for next year, dispatch and so forth. So anyway, I just wanted to apprise you of that. So we do need to get started soon. So if the board would like, I will see about providing it in a format that you can peruse, but there's a lot of explanation that will have to go along with it.
So as long as the board is aware of that it's just preliminary, we're going to have a lot of questions, I guess.
I would think so.
All right, and then can we set some time aside? Doesn't sound like next week, but the week after, unless we want to make a special meeting. Another meeting or the week after?
The week after.
Let's try the week after and see.
All right.
Eventually, we're going to need a
So
special.
week after
The
next.
21st.
And I think we have people coming in on that date anyway. Do we not, Gail?
We do.
All
I'm not
right.
sure of the time yet, but
So
Will we have
maybe
any
we could do
coming
the
in?
budget discussion first.
next over WRTA.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Could we schedule the budget committee first? I mean, the budget discussion with Tim first?
We asked for 5 o'clock, I think, or a specific time. Rick,
I didn't know we did.
didn't he ask
Well,
for a
I-
specific time?
We don't have a time yet.
I'm fine coming in at any time you'd like that night. Would you, but you would like to have that prior to that meeting then?
Yeah. So we can
That
have
way we
questions.
can formulate questions as well.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
If-
selectmen's reports.
While we're on the budget, can I ask a question?
We didn't finish the motion on the MS1,
On which one?
the signing the MS1.
No, we didn't.
I thought we did it. We're all in favor.
No, we
That was
voted
in favor.
all in favor.
We're all in favor.
While we're on the subject of budget, I just ask a real quick question? I understand that there was an email that went out from Joyce to outside agencies, outside departments. And the budget committee, it's kind of in conflict with what the budget committee sent out, because they're requesting October 1st, and my understanding, if I'm reading this the right way, from Joyce, it says September 30th or something. Yeah, September 30th.
What was the request? From Joyce?
If
Go
I
ahead.
may, I can enlighten you on this if you like. Each year, she sends out an email to Conservation Commission, moderator, supervisors of the checklist, Park Cemetery, those types of groups requesting their budget because they appear in the selectmen's budget, and some of them have to do with salary information and taxes have to be calculated. And I believe that's what I didn't get copied on the emails, but
This is Old Home Day.
Old Home Day.
So was this email to request their budget or to have them appear before us?
It says, "Hi Deb, the Board of Selectmen have set a deadline to receive budget requests by 5 p.m. on September 30th, 2017. If the budget isn't received by the 30th, then the Selectmen may set the budget for the organization."
Right.
Why would we set the budget for Old Home Day? And then the Budget Committee has set, in the past, have always set out outside agencies.
It's two separate budgets. It's two separate budgets.
But here's my question. Are we not going to work with the Budget Committee this year and meet with the outside agencies together like we have in the last 5 or 6 years? Or are we going to do something different? That's my
No, I think
question.
that's two separate things. She's asking for the outside agencies' budgets so that we can put it in our default budget
Well,
and present it to the Budget Committee. She's not asking to meet with them.
Well, see, Johanna has already sent that information out to Old Home Day
For the Budget Committee.
for October 1st. I don't think people are understanding that, like Old Home Day, because you say it's an outside agency.
It is.
Right. So the outside agency, why would we be sending that?
Because it's our deadline for our default budget. I guess. I don't know. You'd have to ask Joyce. That was all.
Well, we got
had
a letter
schedule.
back. If you look at the email, we got a letter back from Johanna that was very confusing about it, and I thought we could just
Well, I'm
find a
reading
solution
Joyce's
here tonight.
request as getting the budget. But if they're going to come in and meet with the Budget Committee on the 1st, then obviously we'd want their budget to look at if we're going to talk to them about it. But the deadline for it to include in our budget, I guess, is whatever date she set,
So they-
according to that calendar we had,
So outside agencies need to live with the two different deadlines
I guess.
from the town of Tilton.
But it's our purview as selectmen to change those dates, if you think we should. I'm just trying to give an explanation as to why the two separate dates. Tim?
I don't think it was intended to be different. It's just that when I had originally reviewed the budget schedule with the board was very specific about what to do if the budgets didn't, come back in time, which was that the board may set the budget for them. And I don't think it was intended to be a blanket across all. I had asked Joyce to send out the email that she sends out each year to the groups. I had included some. I had actually put in my email to her Old Home Day. I was listing things that I thought she normally sent out.
That's how it got
But
in.
I don't get copied on those when she sent them, so I don't know which ones she did, but I listed, the ones that were, I thought that she sent them to. And
So it didn't go to all the outside agencies, it
No,
went
no.
to Old Home Day.
No,
Got it.
Conservation
That's
Commission
just the
moderator,
question.
Old Home Day, Park Cemetery, Parks Commission, supervisors of the checklist, those sorts.
Sounds like she was trying to prevent the delay we experience each year, that we have some
Right.
outside agencies that we just don't get their budget
And
until.
we did have difficulty in the past,
Yeah.
I think, with Old Home
That
Day.
sounds like.
But she sends these, every year she sends out this request.
You think we should change the date?
No, if you read Johanna's note response back, she's having a difficult time now because it's in conflict with what the Budget Committee and the outside agencies could be confused on which date that they needed to be in, but I was
Well,
just
guess
trying to.
The outside agencies don't understand it's two separate budgets,
Right.
but it sounds like. Okay.
So we are still going to meet continue to meet with the outside agencies with the budget committee, so that we don't have to meet with two different dates.
That was the plan originally.
Yeah, Selectmen, is that still the plan?
The outside agencies come to the budget committee and give them their budget and present what they've done through the year, instead of having them come to the selectmen and then go to the budget committee. We just go to the budget committee during those specific dates that Johanna sends out to us. So, like Franklin B. and A will come, Cap will come, Old Home Day will come.
We made it more convenient for the outside agencies.
It's easier.
So they didn't have to come to Tilton twice.
We listen to
So we continue with that? No? Okay. Anybody else, selectmen's reports? Peter? Ashley? John?
No, next week we'll have conservation commissions. Nothing going on yet. Nothing new.
You could say just a little bit about, Tim, what you said about the bottom line budget and not expending any more. And I understand we have the dispatch in place, but maybe we should compile a list of what else we can anticipate being a larger expenditure and kind of, still not just go willy-nilly with the budget and still try to maintain that and have those items aside from that.
with the exception of the ones we approved already.
And highly encourage the department heads to make cuts elsewhere if they're having these larger expenditures when possible.
I didn't talk to her. I didn't say a word.
And she didn't talk to me either, and I totally agree.
Didn't say a word.
I'll see what I can do to format it in a way that will split it out. It's not easy. It sounds easy,
Certainly.
but it's
No,
not.
yeah, no.
But I'll do what I can.
Any more selectmen? Peter, magic words?
Motion.
Still in your public hearing, I believe.
No, we
Oh,
closed.
closed
You
it.
did close it. Oh, okay.
But
So
thank
can-
you.
So can I continue?
Sorry.
Motion, motion.
We got a finger up.
Well, they did vote to accept. I believe your last public hearing, you didn't actually vote to accept the SB 38 funds. It was discussed, the public hearing was held, but there wasn't a vote at the end.
Motion to accept the SP 38 funds.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And if you would just make a motion that we're going to pay for those items, the cruiser equipment out of the special detail fund.
We did that.
No, we had the public
We're
hearing.
at the public hearing.
Have we didn't
Make a
spend
motion
it?
that we pay for the equipment for the new cruiser, MDTs, out of the detail.
Second. All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Carries.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Second.
Second.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye. Vote with your feet.
Tim, thank you for coming in tonight
Oh, you're
and
welcome.
playing Joyce. You did a great job
Well, I
with
don't
your
know.
one more thing.